Azalea here. So a couple of days ago, I went to the Philadelphia Flower Show, and I'm reporting back. Now, I did post in the community tab whether you like to see a live video about this or narrated recorded video, and a lot of you opted for a recorded video, and I totally understand because some people may miss the live. But I'm going to jump right into it. So this year's theme for the flower show was Gardens of the Future. And I think gardens moved into two different directions. Ones were really futuristic and others were really peaceful and calm. But as you enter the show, you could see this beautiful display of flowers and colors, and these interesting structures with recycling water. And I think the sustainability and kind of saving the water was one of the ideas behind this entrance video, but I think it was also the bounty of different flowers. And you have to be careful with show gardens because you could see everything blooming at the same time. You have helleborus and foxgloves and alliums all bloom at the same time, and we know that just does not happen in real gardens. And all of these plants are obviously been forced. There's some delphiniums right here that I see. They're absolutely beautiful. But all of these plants were forced just for the show. There was a lot of use of lighting, like LED lighting in different colors. It's not my favorite. It kind of is hard to see the actual plants and takes away from the beauty of plants. I'd rather prefer just a regular warm white light than all these different kind of like disco colors, I guess. There were, of course, some floral displays like this one, some dried flowers from the ceiling, which was stunning, of course. This is another kind of side of the display with a muscari and some primrose, or some wallflowers as well. Now, as we move into the gardens, I really liked, to the display gardens, I really liked this one. It was just this more of a traditional garden, but this was all about supporting the pollinators and the wildlife. And it was the cutest display at the table because they had all these different critters like the frogs, the squirrels, the birds, the bees, and the butterflies kind of feasting at this table of flowers. And the creator of this garden, her message was basically that we need to plant our gardens with a lot of native plants or plants that support a lot of pollinators and wildlife. A lot of people found this display garden just adorable, just tons of people taking pictures. This was kind of the next garden. I did not read a lot about it, but it was just this bounty of different flowers. They were all cut flowers, so they were set in some sort of like vases. But I thought that they were kind of color coded, so they like go from warmer colors to cooler colors, and in the end, it kind of explodes in all of the colors. So it was just like this giant bouquet of flowers. It was beautiful, and all of the plants were just in this prime condition. The lilies smell really good too. This garden was a city garden, kind of reflecting on including more plants in the city environment, which was very interesting. They had a lot of tropicals. This was obviously also lots of the floral displays versus like a real garden. This is just another kind of perspective to that city garden. This garden I also did not read a lot about, but this was also a floral display, lots of different exotic plants. I kind of like those fire structures over there, and that was really creative to come up with something like that. This garden here was one of my favorites. It's by a fellow landscape designer in New Jersey, Susan Cohan. And that was her interpretation of Gardens of the Future. She used a lot of recycled materials and imagined this garden to be in an urban environment. So maybe like an industrial building that has been repurposed with this silo on the side that provides shelter and shade. And of course, she included a lot of nicotianas. I think this is a bronze queen, maybe. I'm growing one of those this year. So that was really, really good, and the water feature looked amazing. There were a lot of displays of smaller gardens, including sustainability, growing your own food, beehives, and these were presented by local colleges and schools, which is so good to get younger people involved in gardening. I saw a lot of seed starting stations like that one in the background. So this one, again, is showing you how to collect water and to be as sustainable as possible. There's a lot of vegetable gardens. There were a lot of vegetable gardens last year as well. So that was interesting to see. This was a really interesting little garden, elevated with these logs and just like lush woodsy field that I love so much with the ferns and the eucharis. Just so pretty. I mean, look at that. Now, this display of bulbs, they have every year. Every year for the last 15 years, I've gone to the flower show. They always have a bulb display, and it's the crowd's favorite because I think we're all dying for color at this time of the year. So it's always really crowded, and it's so nice to see some color. Obviously, all of these bulbs are forced. The tulips, the hyacinths, they had some amaryllis as well, but the hyacinths, oh, smell so good. They also had some fritillaria that do not smell as good as the hyacinths. This was a very interesting garden, kind of again going with the sustainability, saving on electricity and drying our clothes on the clothing lines, but it really looked kind of nice. And I really loved how they created these berms right on the floor. The shapes of the berms were very interesting, and also just like that peaceful green kind of monotone garden. They didn't have a lot of color except for the white and the green, and they had some willows that were blooming at the time. The fans added a lot of movement to this garden. I think it was just kind of unusual and cool looking display. Definitely one of my favorites as well. You could see the fan blowing right there to add some movement to the clothing line. Now this garden, oh my goodness, so peaceful. This was called Roots, just celebrating the root system of our gardens, which we don't see that often unless we're digging the plants, but it is the foundation of our gardens. And the artist just uprooted, so to speak, some of the kind of wooden material so we can see the structure behind the plants. The water features were amazing, and these kind of fog machines added this kind of moody feel. And I was thinking to myself, oh, I have a fog machine downstairs. I may use it on my pond maybe. And of course they used a lot of moss to add that woodsy texture to this garden. But this garden was just so beautiful. Absolutely doable in a regular size garden as well. You don't need a lot of space to include this corner of a very peaceful environment. There was a really beautiful waterfall in the background, but I just like the ideas for this garden. I mean, look at that. Just makes your blood pressure drop right away after you look at something like this. You can see I took a lot of footage of that because I just couldn't stop enjoying this view. This garden was also very interesting, and from a designer's perspective, especially great because not in such a large space, they were able to fit everything. They had a little dining room table, they had seating area, they had a vegetable garden, they had a grill, they had walkways, they had espaliered trees, they had lots of different plantings. Absolutely doable in a regular small residential backyard. If you do not have the lawn, you can have all of these lush plantings and grow produce and entertain. Loved the use of the space in this garden. You could see a beautiful path that goes in there. You were not allowed to enter the gardens, but you could just imagine yourself walking in there. This is Fothergilla, one of my most favorite native shrubs. So extra points for including that one in that garden. This garden was right next to the one I just showed you, and I really liked the structure and the use of wood and metal materials, because in gardens it's not just plants but other structures, like vertical structures, and adding some hanging plants like this. This is obviously more for tropical environments, but you can definitely build like a pergola or an arbor like this even in a colder environment like New Jersey. Again, super lush plantings. I kind of liked the fact that they combined both plants, the tropical and the colder tolerant plants, made for a very lush display. They did have a water feature there as well, just very still. I know they probably added a black dye in there, and just like that calm, beautiful water. I could see having a little garden like this in the backyard, even a small one. This was a display by a Men's Horticultural Society of Philadelphia, which I had no idea existed. But they chose to display this beautiful bathtub in a lush greenery. I liked how they outlined everything with this recycled wood. And just imagine, spending some time, I don't know if you if you would or would not, but it was just an interesting concept of having like this peaceful bathtub with plants all around it. This garden was also very unusual. It was called Heaven something, I forgot exactly the name, but it had only white plants there, so great for moon gardens, and these cotton clouds. So they had a lot of like muscari, white violas, and tulips. It was very, very beautiful, clean, peaceful. This little garden I just took a video of because this is totally doable in the tiniest of spaces, but you could see it has water feature, it has tons of plants, just so peaceful. There were a lot of gardens that were more futuristic, like this one, lots of LED lights of different colors, which is not really my vibe. Another cool idea was to include a geodome in a garden, which is really, really interesting looking. I have been eyeing structures like this for quite a while. If you have more of a modern home, could totally fit something like this as your greenhouse. It looks beautiful, it is functional. They had a lot of plants inside. You can grow vegetables in there. In this case, they were displaying some sort of a video material, which was really interesting about plants and how plants grow. Now, I normally do not pay a lot of attention to the horticourt, is where they exhibit a lot of plants and the plants are judged, but this year I loved it. I think maybe because it was the judging day, and there were so many cool plants that I have never seen before, like these desert roses that look absolutely odd to me, but so interesting, or like this cacti over here. But you could just walk around and look at the beauty and just diversity of these plants. Now, this succulent planter was unbelievable. These succulents look so perfect. They almost looked fake to me, but they were absolutely real. And the Monstera collection was amazing. And again, it was so fun to see the judging of all of these plants. There's some more right here. This is it for my report from the Philadelphia Flower Show 2025. It was a wonderful show. I wouldn't say it was my favorite. Some of the gardens were absolutely outstanding and some were not as creative. And I think I am comparing to the shows that they held outside a couple of years ago. Those were my favorite. The lighting was just way better. The plants behaved a lot better. But still, it was just so good to see some plants, get some inspiration, look at some very, very unusual specimens. And of course, I bought some plants that are soaking in the tub right now because they were so dehydrated. But I'm looking forward to incorporating them in my garden and also incorporating some of the ideas that I saw at the flower show. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and learned something new, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.